So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be sitting here with a really good friend of mine, Peter Cromarty, who I've known since I think we were both knee-high to a grasshopper playing rugby together, and been friends ever since. Pete's running a successful business called Commercial Corporate Business Solutions, of which I'm delighted just to sit and talk through how he's found things today with regard to the COVID situation, and just to pick his brains on how he sees things happening. So just want to introduce Peter, and if Peter can just give us a good introduction into yourself, a bit of background, and how you managed to form Ccbs.
Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat with you, Gary. So my background's 30 years in corporate and commercial sort of banking, mainly in the asset-based lending side. 5.5 years ago, I started Ccbs really as a commercial finance brokerage, and it's developed because we've added a few services over the years to business consultancy and also some commercial debt recovery. Business has grown, so there's 4 of us now across the group, and we deal with all aspects of business finance, whether it be asset finance, invoice finance, or any working capital requirements, business loans, and property. So that's what's been keeping us busy over the last 5.5 years.
Excellent. And coming into this mad world that we're in, go back to say the beginning of the year. What was your views on the first quarter of 2020, and how did that pan out for you before we went into the dizzy world of lockdown?
Yeah, well, we were really busy. We were expecting March to be a really bumper month for us, and then obviously lockdown happened. We actually made a bit of a conscious decision before lockdown, about a week before we started to work from home, just to make sure that we could get all of our IT systems operational, and that we were all set up in order to sort of basically cover all of the angles of what lockdown might bring. And so we've changed how we've communicated. I think we're comfortable with how we can operate and communicate internally, whether that be Zoom, Teams, or Skype. That was the easy bit of getting sorted out. And that's sort of how we've adapted to the new normal, which is, I guess, is a phrase now. The team's adapted pretty well. We've just got into a routine of communicating via Teams on a regular basis throughout the week.
I think that's quite a common thing, isn't it? With a lot of firms, we're starting to adapt and find a way of working. And as you've said, could this be the new way of working? Is this going to be the new norm? Well, I think something like with technology, everybody seems to have embraced it, and for you do your client meetings with, and to have meetings with even lender providers, all that type of stuff. So I think electronically wise, it's been fantastic. Imagine if this was like 10, 15 years ago, how would we have coped?
Well, it would have been extremely difficult to cope in those days. I think it is. It will have adapted. I think some clients have found it a little bit more difficult to deal with that, but they've gradually got, because their business circumstances, it's all well and good working in a services business, which can operate via Zoom or Teams or Skype. But if you've got a manufacturing business, it's very much more difficult to accommodate that. But I think we have adapted as a business community. So,
what's been the lenders' in reaction to all this with the commercial world of finance?
Well, in the early stages of lockdown and in the early stages of the COVID interruption, it's what has been very, very difficult to keep tabs on is the changing government assistance, government legislation, and there's no doubt about it whatsoever. The government have tried to help, but the changes were coming thick and fast. We have really have resorted in the early stages to an advisory role and guidance to help clients understand the changes, and give them some pointers as to where they could get support, and help them with that. And that's developed because that was changing very, very quickly. And I think lenders also found that was very difficult. And so therefore lenders are by their very nature cautious institutions. So they were not taking particularly kindly to the amount of changes on a sometimes daily basis. And so they were really unsure as to how they were going to be able to assist. Now, some of the banks have stepped up to the mark and have really supported and thrown themselves behind some of the government initiatives. Some of the Ccbs schemes, and bounce back schemes, which have really were aimed at getting cash to where it was required for businesses. Some really have, and some haven't been as enthusiastic, let's put it that way.
I'm not going to ask you to name names on that, but that seems to be a feeling I was getting as well, that some of these banks and institutions just were paying it a bit more lip service than what they should have done.
Well, yeah, because in a lot of cases, banks will are looking at things from a risk perspective, and one thing that they don't like is uncertainty. And what we've had over the last 3 months is a hell of a lot of uncertainty. And even now, coming out of lockdown, we're unsure as to what the next few months are going to look like. So the banks have responded. The banks, if we're looking at the lending landscape, the banks some have tried to assist. So they'll all have tried to assist in their own way, and some probably a little bit more effectively than others.
What was the view from your clients then going into lockdown? And maybe it's because we all had cases and deals that we were looking at as we're heading into it. We had some examples of where deals were literally put on hold and had no reopening date. Did you find that was a bit of a case for some of your guys, or?
Yeah, we felt that that going into lockdown, going into March, we were really busy. And if I look at what we're dealing with now, is some of those clients 3 months further down the line. So the clients have taken or availed themselves of the government schemes that have been made available to them, whether it be job retention scheme or the Ccbs loans or the small business grants that were available. So that's helped the initial cash position, and they've probably used a lot of their own resources. And so clients have really had to deal with almost an overnight shutdown of their business. So cash management became absolutely key. And so, a lot of them have just only made critical payments. The furlough scheme, the furloughed staff, the job retention scheme has been a godsend to them, really, because that has meant that they haven't had to make people redundant. They've been able to retain the staff.
Yeah.
So the clients were really dealing with a lot of variables all happening at one time, and it was extremely difficult for them to deal with that. So we did adopt it really at the early stages, trying to step in as an advisor in an advisory capacity to try and help them through this. And we're coming out now, and some of the stuff that we're working on now is the same stuff that we're working on 3 months ago. It's almost as if someone's just pressed pause for 3 months, and that's literally how we sort of see it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're coming into this position now where we are getting locked down, and it's coming out of lockdown as an easing, and having to adapt to things. How have you guys done that? It's in the office, and how are you coping with being COVID friendly moving forward?
So about a week or so ago, we could start to see the lockdown was going to be eased, and we started to get our thoughts about how we're going to operate going forward. So I'm talking to you from our office in Newcastle City Centre. So it's gradually starting to operate back from the office, and so, you know, on a gradual basis, we'll start to operate from the office to try and get back to some sort of normality. The lenders have started to really understand where they are and where they're going. So we've been able to sort of match client requirements to where the lenders are, and that's changed because lending appetites changed, criteria has changed. So we've been trying to match you know, the particular set of circumstances clients find themselves in to the relevant lenders who are in that space. So we're certainly starting to find more matches whereby we can find a lender for the particular set of circumstances. And so, you know, where we see, I would say that the Northeast business community is really resilient, and I do see them bouncing back very, very quickly. Yeah. We're starting to see that now. I think it's been difficult for them to second guess where they are, but they've got a good idea now of where they're going to be in the next three months, and we're trying to work with them in order to try and get them the funding required so that they can implement their COVID recovery plan, and that's really as far as ahead as we're looking, the next 3 months and maybe 6 at a stretch. But you know, it's going to be a very, very difficult 3 to 6 months, and even into next year, there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to be affected as a result of this.
Yeah. Do you still get any inquiries coming in though, Pete? Are you still seeing that the appetite from a client point of view and the need is there from the commercial sector? Because coming out of this, we're seeing that there's not that many people that are a bit skeptical about what's going on, but yet there's some real spikes in positivity around different types of business sectors. So I don't see it being across the board totally with regard to people holding back, but are you finding there's any specific sectors that may be struggling, and apart from obviously the obvious ones, but I'm seeing that going forward, that the appetite from the business community, as we've said in the Northeast, is resilient, and they'll want to come out of this with just up and running and doing what they can to progress. They're entrepreneurial anyway, and they'll find a way. Do you think that's pretty much where you're at with your stuff?
Yeah, I think that's quite a good way to describe it. I think clients have had to find a way. Businesses have had to find a way of getting around this. You know, just today, being in Newcastle is the first day that the retail sector's been open again. So you know, the businesses are having to find a way that they can operate so they can get the right amount of people in the office, in their premises, and it be safe. We're finding that with the clients that we're working at, they're some lenders. So clients have probably, their first port of call has been to the bank, to their own bank, and they've maybe been working with the banks, and where the banks have been able to help, and that's been great. And they've they've been able to sort of put the business owners' minds at rest because they know that they've got available funds to get them through this. But then we're dealing with a lot of clients now who maybe for one reason and another don't fit the criteria for their own bank. So now there's been a whole host of other accredited lenders through the British Business Bank who can now provide, you know, Ccbs loans and bounce back loans to help businesses. And it's just finding the right home for the right client. So we're working with them around that and having some success with those clients, just so that they can implement their recovery plan is the one to do.
Yeah. I'd agree with that totally. I think it's finding the right home for the right people, and for people that's maybe listening to this, there is a home for people. Don't be put off by just that initial talk to your bank. because there are lots of different lending institutions out there that can may well welcome you with open arms.
And that's been quite revolutionary. At the beginning of this lockdown, beginning of this pandemic, there was 40 accredited providers of Ccbs through the British Business Bank, and so Ccbs is the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, and now they've added raft upon raft of additional lenders who have different ways of going about it, but can still get the guarantee of the government to support their lending. So there's I don't know the exact figure, but there's significantly more than 40 now. So you can tend to find a better solution for the particular set of circumstances. And actually, there's also lenders who are now looking at this and thinking, right, well, this proposition stands up on its own right. So yeah, we will actually support this. So we're starting to see the green shoots of us returning back to normality, but we're not under the illusion that this is not normal. So this is far from business as usual, but we are trying to find the right solutions along the way.
How long do you think this is going to last with the Ccbs loan?
Well, I'm not quite sure what the shelf life is for the Ccbs, but I think that will be available for quite some time to come. But what I do think is, in the short to medium term, we're going to have a difficult 6 months. I think we're going to have a lot of businesses who are going to have rolled up some HMRC arrears. We're going to have some rent arrears potentially. We're going to have a lot of debt. Some of the lenders on asset finance have given capital repayment holidays, which has been great because that's helped on a cash flow perspective, but the debt still needs to be repaid. So towards the back end of this year, I think you're going to find a lot of businesses who are going to look at that and find that they have got quite a significant amount of debt that will need to be repaid. And so the reaction of HMRC is to how long they give these businesses to repay some of that, those HMRC arrears, either be it VAT or PAYE, will be critical as to how the business community can come out of this, and how businesses survive, or whether the business falls into some form of insolvency. And I think you'll start to see a lot of that towards the back end of this year and the beginning of next.
Yeah, totally agree. I think just looking at the whole thing, though, the whole outlook of everything, it still seems to be fairly positive. I think people do want to get on and still want to make a success of what they've been doing, and as I said before, they'll find a way to find that route to make a success. There are going to be casualties, and unfortunately, that is a way of the world. But there's out of a business going down, there's always going to be other businesses spring up, and people will do what they need to do in order to make a success. So I think with the help and the experience and the guidance that you guys can give these people who are looking for business help, business finance help, it makes much of an easier proposition to do it that way, as opposed to just pigeonholed into their own banking. I think you guys have got a bit of a steer on all that, and if anything, you can look at propositions and give it that seems to be fairly good, and we've got some lenders that will support that, or listen, mate, that's just not going to happen, and it can save a lot of time for a lot of people. But my message to people is if you do want to do anything corporate-wise, if you're not getting the support from your bank, then speak to somebody like Sir Pete and his team, because they'll guide you through it. They'll give you some real solid advice on what you can and can't do, and then hopefully find a home for you at the end of that process. So for me, that's how we should work, and that's how it should be done. I think the broker community needs to have a bit of a shout out, because we've been really instrumental, I think, in a lot of things that's happened with the finance world. Helping the banks still do what they do, getting new clients in, helping clients get into the business ladder. So I just say, Peter, you know, you do a great job with your clients, and you know, long may it continue, because I know your team are working hard to make sure that they can get the results for your clients that's out there. So just to close, anything you want to just think about, talk about, anything you want to just get a little message to people, or?
Yeah, just I mean, you know, we're here. You know, we're quite passionate as a business of the North East business community. You know, we do operate further afield in the North East, but the vast majority of what we do is in the North East. We are passionate about the North East business community, and we are looking to try and help them in whichever way we can. So, you know, if anybody wants to, you know, chat through our experiences or what the art of the possible is, if they haven't quite formulated their you know, the business recovery plan for COVID, give us a call, drop us an email, and we'll be back in touch. And if there's anything we can do to help you with regards to funding, then we'll be more than happy to look at that.
Pete, that's absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate your time. I know you've got loads on and you're a busy fella, so we're going to stop it there if that's all right.
Great.
All the best to you and your business and your team. Please pass on my regards to everybody, and I look forward to catching up with everybody soon. And again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Cheers, Gary.